Welcome to BS Chem 1B Group 4 presentation, Minimalism Art, Installation Art, Conceptual Art, Optical Art, and Pop Art.
Minimalism art. What you see is what you see, according to Frank Stella. For starters, let's define minimalism art. It's a kind of abstract that was developed in USA in 1950s and 1960s and typified by artworks composed of easy geometric shapes. Throughout this era, the art world saw a significant transition amongst younger artists whose works began to actively reject and move off from action painting. Minimalist art is centered on the textural and material components in an exceeding pure abstract kind. Minimalism removes all essential forms so as to reveal the purity and sweetness of the piece. The front was really groundbreaking for its time because it saw artists that specialize in highlight the true essence of the medium and material to make the art itself. Why does people actively switch from abstract expressionism to minimalism art? Abstract art movement is so wonderful, reasonably art that wherever will creator specific their emotions and feelings, whereas minimal art removes all those expressions. However, focus solely on the purity and beauty and ease of an art or object that was being depicted. Abstract expressionism is a lot of on expressing the artist is a lot on expressing the artist's personal and emotional feeling. It absolutely was so elegant. However, minimalism art is attempting to try to give a stuff being itself while not representing something. They need the art to live in its own reality. These are some examples of minimalism art. As you will see, the minimalism art is all regarding geometric shapes, being a stuff with its own simplicity and pure beauty. In minimalism art, colors doesn't mean something. Like if it is black, then it's black. If it's white, then it's white. Colors don't have any, which means the least in. The three types of minimalism art: minimalist sculpture, minimalist painting, and minimalist light installation. So first, let's define minimalist sculpture. Artists were making three-dimensional geometric forms, in-house victimization, industrial materials like fiberglass, plywood, plastic, sheet, and metallic element. The sculpture were placed on the ground as a position on a pedestal, and guests were invited to look at the link between completely different components of the design, at intervals a repetition of geometric bodies. The most goal of the creator is that they need the viewers to act with the work as a result of there wasn't that a lot to see. In minimalism, art is sculpture, area, and the way it's positioned matter. Artists like Donald Judd, Dan Flavin, Soliwet, American revolutionary leader Carl Andre, Anthony Caro, and Tony Smith experimented with the link between minimalism and house through their grid-based sculptural composition. These are some examples of minimalist art sculpture. Soliwet's Untitled associate degree opens with white cube divided into several interior cubes, while Carl Andres Lever that consisted of 137 bricks laid in a line along the floor. Minimalist painting. Artists like Frank Philip Stella, Ellsworth Kelly, Agnes Martin, and Robert Ryman created entirely self-referential canvases with hard edges, abrupt transition between areas of solid colors, repetitive patterns, and geometric forms. The result was a flat, two-dimensional area that directly affected viewers. The agency need to expertise art, stripped all the way down to its basic, physical look and elementary character. The paintings don't have any which means. Colors doesn't matter. However, shapes and geometric lines matter. These two examples here is one of the black paintings of Frank Stella. Both paintings contain either one vertical or horizontal unpainted line at the center of the canvas offset against the opposite white and black lines that divided the canvas into absolutely equal sections. With this extremely regulated pattern, Frank Stella tried to force illusionistic area out of the painting. Last, minimalist light installations. Artists started victimization fluorescent lightweight tubes to sculpt house into a colored zone. The main focus of the work was on the sunshine itself, not on the types of the sunshine tubes. On the geographic area, minimalist art was developing at a fast pace within the 1960s and 1970s, within the style of the sunshine and area movement, or light and space movement. Artists related to this branch of minimal art, Square Measure, Virgin Mary Corse, John McCracken, Larry Bell, and Robert Irwin. In New York, Dan Flavin worked preponderantly with the fluorescent lightweight installations. Initial, he created icons by combining electrical lights with the plain square-fronted constructions, and later, he started operating with fluorescent tubes of any commercially obtainable character. I would like to know your reaction about the minimalism art, if you can accept this an art. So please comment your thoughts below. That's the end of the report about minimalism art. Thank you for listening.
Okay, good day everyone. I am Francis Allen Colinares and I am going to present to you today installation art. To begin, what is installation art? An installation art is a three-dimensional visual artwork. It is often created for a specific place and designed to change the perception of a space. Some artists prefer to create or put their art in a room-like spaces, where their artworks are easier to comprehend by the viewers. Installation art is most often found within an indoor space. So the term installation, which appeared in the 1970s, generally applies to works created for interior spaces, in galleries, and also in museums. But there are also artworks of art outdoors, often called as public art, land art, or to put it roughly, humans intervening on an environment and putting their stamp on it. That said, outdoor piece can most certainly be considered an installation of sorts. Okay, so next we have here three characteristics of installation art. We have immersive, large scale, and site specific. Let's start with immersive. Immersive is a key contribute of installation art. It is its ability to physically interact with viewers. It invites individuals to view art from new and different perspectives literally. Okay, next we have large scale. Most works of installation are large in scale. Their large statures enable viewers to become completely immersed in each larger than life environment. In many cases, it allows them to interact with the statues, to sit, to stand, or walk through it. So that is large scale. Next, we have site specific. Installations are usually planned. There it will be placed in rooms, in galleries, and museums to outdoor places. Given the strategic nature of their designs and the uniqueness of their surroundings, site-specific works of art ensure a one-of-a-kind aesthetic and experience. Okay, so I have here 6 subcategories of installation arts. So we have here first interactive installations. Interactive installations are arts which involves the audience acting on the work of art or piece, responding to users' activity. Some of the kind of interactive installations includes web-based installations, gallery-based installations, and mobile-based installations. So that is installation art. Now we have next conceptual art. Okay. Conceptual art, sometimes simply called conceptualism, is art in which the concepts or ideas involved in the work take procedure over traditional aesthetic, technical, and material concerns. Some works of conceptual art, sometimes called installations, may be constructed by anyone simply by following a set of written instructions, just like this kind of animal here in the picture. Okay, so next we have immersive virtuality reality. As the technology improves, artists also create new ideas. The media used are more experimental and bold. They are also usually cross media and may involve sensors, which plays on the reaction to the audience, right? Movement when looking at the installations. The audience feels like it really happened, but in reality, it's just a virtual presentation. Okay? Next, we have here video installation. This is a contemporary art form that combines video technology with installation art, making use of all aspects of the surrounding environment to affect the audience, where audience can walk through and enjoy the surroundings of an art. So that is video installation. So I have here an example of video installation. Okay. Alright, so now let's proceed to street installations. Okay. Street installations are form of street art because it is in the street, right? While conventional street art is done on walls and surfaces, street installations use three-dimensional objects set in an urban environment, like graffiti. That is example of a street art. It is generally non-permission based, and the installation is effectively abandoned by the artist upon completion after he created his art. Street installations sometimes have an interactive component. Okay, so that is street installation. Now let's proceed to sound installation. Sound installation relate to sound art, and sound sculpture is an intermediate and time-based art form. It is an expansion of an art installation in the sense that it includes the sound element and therefore the time element. The main difference with a sound sculpture is that sound installation has three-dimensional space, and the axes with which the different sound objects are being organized are not exclusively internal to the work but also external. So therefore you can interact with the this kind of installation, which is the sound installation, just like the example that I have here. This one. Okay, so that is sound installation. So thank you everyone for watching and listening. God bless us all today. If you have questions about my topic, just leave your questions in the comment section of this video. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. I will discuss about the conceptual art. But what really is conceptual art? Conceptual art was first named in 1961 by the American theorist and composer Henry Flint and described in his essay Concept Art in 1963. Conceptual art is art for which the idea or concept behind the work is more important than the finished art object. It emerged as an art movement in the 1960s, and the term usually refers to art made from the mid-1960s to the mid-1970s. Conceptual artist uses whatever materials and whatever form is most appropriate to putting their idea across. This could be anything from a performance to a written description. It is also called post-object art or art as idea. Artwork whose medium is an idea or a concept, usually manipulated by the tools of language and sometimes documented by photography. Its concerns are idea-based rather than formal. Origins. The ideas behind this form of visual art were explored by Marcel Duchamp, the so-called father of conceptual art, although the term was first used by Edward Kennels in the late 1950s. Duchamp, who became the darling of the radical Dada movement, created numerous challenging works such as his ready-made series of found objects, of which the most celebrated was Fountain. Characteristics. Conceptual art is all about ideas and meanings, rather than works of art such as paintings, sculptures, and other precious objects. It is characterized by its use of text as well as imagery, along with a variety of ephemeral, typically everyday materials found objects. It also incorporates photography and video, as well as other contemporary media such as computers, performance art, projections, installation art, and sound. One might say it was an artistic revolt against the increasing commodification of art and or the creative limitations imposed by modern art thought in traditionalist venues. Here are some famous artists and their works. Marcel Duchamp, who created the fountain, which is a standard funeral basin which Duchamp submitted for inclusion in the annual exhibition of the Society of Independent Artists in New York, but it was rejected. Ives Klein, whose works included aerostatic sculpture, which 1001 blue balloons were released into the sky. Stanley Brown, famous for his artistic declaration in 1960 that all shoe shops in Amsterdam comprised an exhibition of his work. Piero Manzoni, who in 1961 scandalized the art world by exhibiting cans of his own pieces. Christo and Jean Claude, Iron Curtain. This consisted of a barrier of oil drums built in a narrow Parisian street which caused traffic gridlock. He stated that the art lay not in the barricade itself, but in the ensuing traffic jam. Yoko Ono, future wife of Beatle John Lennon, publishes Grapefruit, a book of instructions and drawings, detailing how to obtain an aesthetic experience by cutting up and eating grapefruits. Gian Baldessare, known for his 1970 film during which a number of intellectually important observations on conceptual art. Douglas Wibbler, noted for his 1970 exhibition of 12 photographs taken every 2 minutes while driving his car along a road for 24 minutes. Judy Chicago, the leading feminist artist of the 1970s, whose major work was a conceptual installation entitled The Dinner Party. This consisted of a triangular banqueting table with 39 place settings for important female figures in history. The names of 999 additional women of consequence were incised into the floor tiles underneath the table. Walter de Maria, who in 1977 sank a 1-kilometer brass rod into the earth in North Germany, calling the result a vertical earth kilometer. The art, she stated, therefore existed in people's minds. Christopher Williams, noted for his 1989 work, Angola to Vietnam. This comprised a set of monochrome photos of glass-enclosed specimens from Harvard's Botanical Museum, selected according to a list of 36 countries that witnessed political disappearances in 1985. And last, Tracy Emin, a popular exponent of postmodernist art, whose 1999 exhibit for the Turner Prize was My Bed, an installation consisting of an unmade bed strewn with personal items like condoms, blood-stained panties, bottles, and bedroom slippers. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you learned something about conceptual art.
Pop art. The objectives of this report is to identify when did the pop art started, to define and understand pop art, to learn its characteristics, and to give examples for better understanding. Hello everyone! Before anything else, I would like to introduce myself. I am Edijal S. Centillas. I am the second reporter from Group 4. Kindly listen and take notes. Pop art is an art movement that used commercial and popular references as subject for art. When was the pop art movement, or when did it started? Pop art was a movement that began in 1955. Its name was coined by a British curator named Lawrence Alloway. He used it to label an art movement that began to emerge in New York and London that uses images from popular culture and products. It is defined as popular, which is designed for a mass audience. What are the characteristics of pop art? Pop art is expressed by daring, simple, everyday images from contemporary culture. Common images used in pop art came from advertisements, packaging, comic strips, movie stars, celebrities, and etc. It used bold and lively block colors that gives the artwork a trendy vibe, so that it will be inclusive and relatable to its viewers. It is also a movement characterized by the imagery of consumerism and popular culture, which is an innovative use of media, right? It is considered to be one of the first postmodernist movements since it embodies the principles of the movement that would largely develop during the 1970s. These principles include that art should be easily understood, that art can be made of anything, and that the concept behind the work is more important than the artwork itself. It also displayed postmodernist tendencies in a way that it concerned itself with the impact, style, and medium rather than a depiction of reality. So these are the examples of pop art. It also rejected the traditional values of modernism. It blurred the distinction between high culture and low culture by using ordinary consumer products as subjects for their art, such as the Campbell soup cans of Andy Warhol in 1968. The second one, which focused on capturing people's attention, as with their bright imagery comic strip blow-ups of Roy Lichtenstein in 1963, named Wham! Wham! Third, by Claes Oldenburg, Giant Balls in 1977, which is a large-scale sculptures of familiar objects. Unlike other art styles and movements, it connected to the critics and public alike. Pop art was and still is one of the most recognizable and popular art style. So let us review some. It started in the year 1955 by Lawrence Alloway, and usually has very bright colors that will attract the consumers, which is designed for a mass audience. So that's it. Thank you everyone for listening. Stay safe and God bless. If you have any questions, you can reach out the group for. Thank you.
Hello, good day. Before we proceed to our topic, let me show you first this and tell me what you see. This isn't a video or a GIF, but rather a still photo. Can you see the picture somehow moving to any directions? If you do so, this photo is an example of illusion. This picture tricks our eyes into believing that it is actually moving. It is one of the examples of optical art. So, what is optical art? Optical art, short for op art, is an art movement that emerged in the 1960s. It is a distinct style of art that creates the illusion of movement through the use of precision and mathematics, stark contrast, and abstract shapes. These sharp pieces of artworks have a three-dimensional quality that is not seen in other styles of art. This type of art intentionally exploits the oddity of human perception that gives the human eye the ability to deceive the human brain by manipulating patterns, shapes, colors, materials, and forms. So, optical art is basically a photo or a picture that's somewhat in motion. So, what are its characteristics? Op art is not meant to represent reality. By all means, they're geometrically figures or shapes. Op art is not representational. Artists do not attempt to depict anything we know in real life. Instead, they make it more like an abstract art in which the composition, movement, and shape dominates. Op art is not created by chance. The elements employed in the piece of op art are carefully chosen by the artist, from the illusion and the colors. Each color, line, and shape must contribute to the overall composition to make the effect. Op art relies on two specific techniques. The critical techniques used in op art are your perspective and the careful choice of colors. The color may be chromatic or identifiable use, meaning colors. It has colors. And achromatic or black and white only. So if you're planning to make an op art, you may want to look on your perception too. Be sure that the graphic you made has also tricked your own eye to give its real effect. Op art typically does not include the blending of colors. The lines and shapes of this style are very well defined by the artist. The artists do not use shading when transitioning from one color to the next, and quite often two high contrast colors are placed next to each other. So we have here an example of chromatic of art, which we all know when we say chromatic, it has colors. This is named Dominant Purpureo Blue in 1977. Although the dominant color here is red, and this was made by Bridget Riley. She is the most famous of artists. Even in her background picture, it seems like the wavy shapes are somehow in motion. Here we have an example of a chromatic of art. This is named Zebra in 1937 and was made by Victor Vasarely. Victor Vasarely is named as the father of optical art. The graphics in his background photo, those are other arts, optical arts he made. How does optical art deceive our mind? We know realistically that any op art piece it is flat, static, and two-dimensional. Our eyes, however, begin sending our brain the message that what we're seeing has begun to oscillate, flicker, or throb, or any other verb one can imply on. For example, this photo. By looking at this photo, it seems like it's warping or moving into any direction. Looking at these shapes, these wavy shapes, this had tricked our mind that this photo is somehow in motion and it has impression. How did artists come up with this art and what's the purpose? Artists have been intrigued by the nature of perception and the behavior of the eye for many centuries. They made different effects used to trick the eye and became a famous illusion art. That is how the beginning of op art designed to confuse the public's eye and play with our perception of the world around us. Op artists strive to create a phenomena that fool the eye, confusing viewers into seeing more than what is actually there. So here are some other arts that have been growing around in the internet. And if you look at it for too long, your eyes would really hurt. And we have this kind of witty statement that it hit my optic nerve. So in summary, op art is a style of visual art that uses optical illusions. Op art works are abstract, with many better known pieces created in black and white or in colors. Typically, they give the viewer the impression of movement, hidden images, flashing and vibrating patterns, or warping. That's all for today. Thank you for listening.
So that's all for today. We hope that you have learned a lot about our topics. God bless everyone and thank you for watching.